Hello, hello. Thanks for joining us. We just wrapped up our Bridgerton discussion, so excuse us for being a little bit late. Um, but we're here for February's book of the month, which was, of course, The Stranger in the Lifeboat by Mitch Albom. I didn't get a chance to create the image, but basically, this book is about a man who uh, experiences a shipwreck, or the ship that he was on sinks, and he's in a lifeboat with a bunch of different characters, one of which claiming to be the Lord. Um, and it's a story about survival and guilt and so many things. But I did not pick this book for this month. It was actually E's selection. So let us know, why did you pick your book and your spoiler-free thoughts and ranking?
So I wanted to pick a book that I knew, but at least from the author, I know that this author has a tendency to wrap things up in a way that is hopeful.
Okay.
And just how I've been feeling lately, I needed something that would give me a good feeling toward the end,
Mhm.
and still be insightful. And I think that Mitch Albom has a reputation for not only writing about stories of faith, but kind of just something that would restore. And I think that this book did achieve that. I think this story did a really good job of painting a picture that felt very relatable about the main character. Well, I guess there's kind of two main characters, but
Mhm.
um, the person that the story is mostly about is named Benji, and as a reader, he feels like someone very relatable, someone who has been through a really trying time in his life, that has lost a lot, and that kind of a sense of purpose has evaded him
Mhm.
because of his life circumstances. And toward the end of the book, um, as a reader, you just feel a restoration has taken effect because of Benji's journey. And yeah, I think this fulfilled exactly what I needed.
Okay.
And I am definitely interested to read more of Mitch Albom's books from this point forward. For my rating, I am going to be a little biased because I picked it and it did what it needed to do.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it a 4.2. I
Ah.
think Mitch does a really good job in his storytelling and world building as well. And I think Mitch does a good job of relating back to his audience, the readers,
Mhm.
through his characters.
Okay.
Um, there's something to be said about how Mitch is able to build upon an emotion and a feeling and just really use his words in a way that just really it feels gut wrenching, but you don't there's like a sadness, but it doesn't feel um like it tears you down. It
Mm.
just feels like you have sympathy for these characters, and then you also kind of have he has a way of making you put yourself in their shoes. And I think that that is a very effective way of storytelling, where you put yourself in who you're reading about shoes. That's probably one of the more impactful ways to tell a story.
Mhm.
And he really does a good job of making his audience have empathy, even for people that, you know, initially you feel like maybe they don't deserve it, but you still feel it for them. So yeah.
4 stars. All right. Um, so when I started listening to the books, I listened to it on Audible. Um, the narrator kind of had like a voice that I was thinking this is about to be a long book. It's not that long of a book. It's only like 4 hours or so.
Mhm.
But the more I listened to it, the more I appreciated his style of narration. And the same goes for the writing. There was earlier in the book, I was finding it hard to place a time period for the book. I was thinking this is like, what year was this? Until they started mentioning things like Instagram and stuff like that. I said, oh, this is a more recent, it's placed more recently than what I originally thought based off of the narration for whatever reason. Um, but there, like you were saying, the way that the author writes certain emotions and how descriptive he was very captivating, especially the way he was describing how the sea was and how hopeless these characters felt being, shipwrecked. And also how there was one scene in particular, it's not a spoiler, but there was a scene where the mother was telling Benji to go away, and he mentioned how this must have been the words that his father relayed to her and how she felt, right? And I said, oh, this is just really the way the author wrote it was very powerful. And there were a lot of scenes like that where his writing made you feel what the characters were feeling. And that's really a great accomplishment for an author. Not everyone can do that. Um, and it was because that the story developed in such a way that even though for majority of it we're just on this lifeboat, right? And you would think that would be very kind of monotonous and boring, but it wasn't because the writing was so um, captivating. And there were several characters on this boat, and I did appreciate how everyone had their own distinct personality. You could kind of, even though there were so many, you can kind of tell the difference between the characters and things like that, which is not something that all authors do. I've read books with like 4 characters and they all sound the same, and it's like who's who, who's who. But they had very, it was very distinct, and I also enjoyed how um, the story is relayed through Benji, but also through the reporters who, through the, as they're telling the story of the shipwreck and all of these important people who were on there, how we get more information that way. I thought that was very interesting way to kind of develop the characters and have us get to know the characters in that way. So overall, I will say I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much so that I had my fiance read it so we can talk about it, and he also liked it.
I love
Yeah.
it.
So I too am going to give it a 4 stars. Even 4, I really liked it. I liked that it was short and sweet too. It was only 4 hours, and
Yes.
it did so much within those 4 hours.
Yes.
But let's get into the very next portion of the show, which is of course everyone's favorite time. At least my favorite time. It's spoiler time. So the other lead character I would say would be Inspector Jardy.
Yeah.
Um, his story was so heartbreaking when about his daughter, and there was a scene where he gets the kangaroo from the trunk of the car.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was so sad, and I just felt so bad for him as a character. Um, but Benji. is the one who had me most captivated, because by the end of the book, I was confused as to whether was Benji did Benji actually speak and see the Lord, or was he hallucinating these whole things, or was this his coping mechanism? Was this his way of surviving potentially a boat alone? Um, because even though in the book we are reading that these characters are there in the lifeboat with him, later on the book they mentioned something about how majority of the bodies were found in like the atrium or wherever it was, wherever that rock concert was being held. Um, and for the characters that are on the lifeboat, for them to conveniently be the people who he was most responsible for on the ship as a worker on the ship, it just felt like, was he, or was he, did he feel some guilt about killing these people, and that's why he potentially hallucinated them on on the boat? Because him even being on the lifeboat was by chance. He was in the
Mhm.
water, and then he hears the voice, telling him, "Hey, come here," and he chances himself on the boat. So for me, it read as if they weren't real. Like all these things that we're hearing about them on the lifeboat wasn't true. I don't know if you felt the same way. What is your theory?
I do think that the author meant for us to debate whether the other people on the boat actually were there. I do believe he had an encounter with the Lord.
Mm,
I don't know if those other people were there or not. And I don't know if it was a physical, it's hard to say because I can't there's no, other than him holding Alice's hand,
yeah.
I can't think of any other time that there's a physical interaction. And the story painstakingly describes this scenario of Benji imagining that Dobby was even on or Dobby was on. I keep saying Dobby because I kept thinking of the character from
The
Harry
house elf?
Potter. I kept thinking of the character from Harry Potter, but
Yeah, the house elf from Harry Potter.
yes,
Yeah.
the house elf. Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Um, but that he had never been on the boat,
Yeah.
and there was so much in the beginning of the story of Benji saying, "Did he? Why would he do this? Did he do this? How did he get out? How did he get off?" And of him talking to Dobby.
Yeah.
I can't. I want to say Dobby because I just don't know.
I
But
think it's Dobby.
it is Dobby.
Yeah, I think it's Dobby. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's so many times that he's interacted with Dobby
Mhm.
before he comes to the realization himself that he what that he was never there, and that he is the one that brought the mine on board.
See.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so it's hard to say. I think that was intentional, that we were supposed to question, and it's supposed to be a question of like our faith and
Mhm.
our faith in his lived experience, and whether the Lord actually did come and intercede to save this man
Mhm.
after this freak accident, because ultimately there's no reason why he should have been able to make it off that boat and off the yacht and onto this lifeboat. Who
Mhm.
would have blown up the lifeboat? And what happened on the yacht, I'm not sure that what happened to the yacht happened before Benji jumped off.
What do you
I,
mean? Are you
I was under the impression that Benji jumped off the yacht prior to the yacht being attacked.
okay? Okay. Uh-huh.
Um, and then, like, maybe it was just before, but it happened, and he was in the water when it started going down. That's what I think happened. But when the whales or whatever started hitting the boat, I don't
Uh-huh.
think that he jumped off the boat because of jumped off the yacht because of what was happening to the yacht. I think he jumped off because he was ready to end his life, which he did say.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
so I was well when you said the yacht, I was like, is it a cruise ship? Or I was imagining as a cruise ship, but it probably was a yacht given the high.
I think it's just a huge, huge, huge
Profile.
yacht, huge,
Yeah,
huge yacht, big,
yeah, with
big
all
time.
the high profile celebrities and stuff on there. But I don't know. The only thing that makes me think that in the corner of okay, so in the corner of it, them not being real, him not seeing the Lord, is the fact that we see that he lied to even himself about who actually destroyed the ship because he was blaming Dobby whole time, right? Even writing it
Mhm.
down. I can't believe Dobby would do this and all of this.
Mhm.
Him also writing it to what was her name, Annabelle or Annabeth or what was it? I think I wrote it down. Annabelle,
Yeah.
who turned out to be like his dead wife or a dead lover.
Mhm.
Um, him having this imaginings of Jason being his father. It's like all of these things kind of make it seem like him actually speaking to the Lord to me seemed like it wasn't real. It just seemed like it was just his way of coping slowly or grappling with the fact that he felt responsible for these deaths, even though it turns out he didn't do it. He didn't know that it was the whales at the time. He thought it was possibly the explosion actually did happen. And the only thing I would say would be in the corner, in my opinion, for them people actually being in the boat, him actually speaking to the Lord, was at the end where he actually ended up writing a letter
Yeah.
to it was Campbell's children about what Campbell had said or how he felt about them, and also the other lady, what was her name, Miss Lacari, Mrs.
Yeah.
Lacari, the Indian lady.
Mhm.
That made me question, like maybe were they there or not? I don't know.
And him
And
having the earrings.
yeah, it was like a
The
couple,
earrings.
but it's so interesting. I still kind of grapple with it as I'm speaking about it now. I don't know. I don't know which one it could be. Um,
It reminded me of Life of Pi in that way.
okay, that's what my fiance was saying.
Yeah, like it's like this didn't this probably didn't happen the way he wrote it initially,
Mhm,
but to clarify exactly what happened and if this was exactly as it happened would take away from the story and take away from the question of like what what does your faith allow? What will your faith allow you to
mhm.
believe?
Yeah. If honestly, and if I was Dobby, I would have been mad as hell. Because now you trying to implement me and frame me whole time in this journal. What if somebody else found out and they really would have been after Dobby? Like, even though he wasn't on the boat, thank God, right? At least he
Yeah.
had that in his corner. But for his cousin to write down, oh, Dobby, I can't believe you did this. Like,
Yeah,
what's
because
up
the
with that?
manifest is gone. There's no
Yeah,
proof that Dobby wasn't on there except that his word that he was never on it. I mean, maybe there's something there that will could prove that he was never in employ.
uh-huh. But still, it's
But
like, who
still,
would do that
yeah.
to me? Cousin? Like, that's effed up.
Yeah,
And
that's a little wild.
yeah, and for them to, I guess it was implied or kind of like stated that they ended up meeting up together at the end and off on that island or on that other side because what was the name of that? Um actually no, am I misremembering? Because there the character that shown the inspector where the raft was that
Yeah,
meant to be God or was that meant to be Benji claiming a new
Benji.
name?
That
Okay, it was
was
meant to be
Benji.
Benji. Okay, I was like,
Mhm.
what? Okay, so
Rum something.
yeah, but it ended up being like the interpretation was something about like representing of God or whatever the name ended up
Hmm.
translating into.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, overall, very interesting book. It definitely caught my attention and kept me captivated. Even though I didn't expect it to be so that way. So I was very pleasantly surprised. That's what I say. But yeah,
Yeah.
4 stars around the board. And even though we're doing this the 1st of March, technically for February, so excuse a tad delay. But for the month of March, at the end of the month, we will be discussing a new book. It is my selection, right? And I was wondering, did you get a chance to look at the two that I said? Because if you're watching this, the two options for the month of March are going to be My Sister the Serial Killer or Insatiable now. And so My Sister the Serial Killer, I've been wanting to read for a while now, at least a year. I've been trying to get that. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. This other one, Insatiable, though, is written by the author who is so scandalous from her last book. I read the last book and it was interesting, but it was nothing that I'm about to talk about.
All right.
So I'm intrigued by this author. So either way, I'll announce it on the channel which one is chosen, and that's going to be our book of the month for March. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Please like and subscribe, and join us next month for the next book. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you.